In 2005, I was just 19 when I volunteered to go to Iraq and look for roadside bombs. My service changed my life. After 20 years, I want to help veterans tell their stories. Grab your whoopee, sit back and relax. I'm your host, Joseph Yankton, and this is Rank and File. Hey, nice to meet you.
Likewise.
You're the first Army National Guard soldier that I've had on the podcast, other than myself. And we're both combat engineers.
Mm-hmm.
And so this is a big deal for me to have another combat engineer. And so I have a gift for you. I'll start off with a gift right away. And I'll show the camera t-shirt.
That's sweet. That's really sweet.
And it has the engineer
the
symbol on
crest
the
on it. Yep.
Yep.
That's very cool. Thank you so much.
So this is for you, man.
Appreciate it.
Right.
Wow. That's cool. It's got a flag on it. Anything on the back? Not yet. You put something badass like a Sapper tab on it or something. Thank you.
So, why'd you join the Minnesota National Guard?
Well, I joined the Minnesota National Guard because my father actually made me switch directions. I had a couple of friends who wanted to try out for buds and be super cool guys and be SEALs. And they were a couple of years older than me, and some mentors of mine in running and swimming. I was an athlete growing up.
Where'd you go to school?
Wilmer, Minnesota. So I'm a Minnesota native.
Yeah. I went to the Christian music festival down there.
Oh,
Sunshine.
Yeah. Yep, Sunshine. That was put on by the local Youth for Christ. They've switched venues now, which is unfortunate. That was a big...
It was a big outdoor festival. Is awesome.
Yeah, I did some help with setup and tear down for them. I did been to the event many times.
Speaking of which, it's okay if we open the podcast with a prayer?
Sure, absolutely.
Okay.
Thank you.
Heavenly Father, thank you for today. Pray that this podcast goes great and that this video can reach out to other veterans out there and who want to tell their story. In Jesus' name, amen.
Amen.
All right. Yeah, I got to see Sunshine in 2008, and the Newsboys were playing, and I got to see Peter Fuller before he turned himself in for being an alcohol abuse, whatever. But he had to do the drum battle with the drummer, and they both strapped into those harnesses, and the platform's elevated, and the one, it's like I don't know, it turned sideways, and he strapped in, but yeah, that was one of the best shows I ever got to see, was down in Wilmer.
I've seen the Newsboys in Wilmer. I've seen DC Talk in Wilmer, and
yes.
countless other great, fantastic artists. I've seen Skillet play live on stage 2 and on the main stage. Sung along to, just from me to the camera away. Yeah. With some great Christian artists who probably eventually evolved into some great national artists.
Yeah, David Crowder Band. He had his, I don't know if it was a little keyboard. It was basically a kid's toy, but his sound engineer turned it into an actual instrument.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So, okay. So Wilmer. What's Wilmer, Minnesota known for?
Well, Wilmer is known for a few things. We'll start a little broader out in the county. Okay. Wilmer's in Kaneohe County. It's basically right in the middle of the state, although St. Cloud may argue that they're in the middle. But we claim to be where the lakes begin. Okay. South of Wilmer is all prairie and farmland. There's a lot of great agricultural resources there. And then as you start to trend north from Wilmer, you start to get into more of the lakes and the swamps and the things that Minnesota is more known for. Some of the more scenic, deciduous and coniferous tree lines that run both up through Duluth and then up through northern Minnesota and International Falls. So Wilmer is specifically known for a couple of different things. Jennie-O Turkey is a national brand. I believe Hormel eventually bought them out. They used to have a well-known state mental health institute there. We always called it the state hospital. Yeah. That has now become a.
You don't call it the loony bin no more?
Not anymore. No.
Okay.
I think they may still do some youth programs out there, but it's not an inmate residence anymore.
Okay.
A lot of the campus is now owned by the poultry industry, and they're doing some genetic testing and some other cool research and development out there to help keep our food safer and obviously make themselves some more profits too. My sister actually lives in the St. Cloud area, and she works for one of the industries like microbiologics, I believe is the name of the company, and they do a lot of the baby bird testing. So if a farmer has an outbreak of something and they don't know what it is, they can send the chicks into microbiologics and have them tested.
Okay.
There's other genetic therapies and things that we're doing locally in Wilmer for poultry and turkey. Wilmer got its start as a railroad town. Burlington Northern has a huge switch yard, still very, very active, still causing problems for traffic, and still very loud. But if you live in Wilmer, you get used to it.
I just watched a very unrealistic train movie, Unstoppable, with Denzel Washington, and I forgot the other actor, but I watched that movie, I enjoyed it. It was a great action flick. And then I went and applied for Canadian National, CN, when I was in Duluth, and I started talking to those railroad guys. They're like, no, we hate that movie. I'm like, oh, okay, so it's just like the military movies. Okay, got it. Entertaining, but completely unrealistic.
Right.
So you mentioned you had a sister. How many siblings do you have?
I have 2 siblings. Okay. I also have another sister that I don't really talk to. So technically I have three siblings that I know about. I have a sister on my father's side, my biological father's side, that I don't really associate with. When I was younger, my father had made some choices that I didn't necessarily agree with or didn't see the reasoning behind at the time, and it wasn't a path that I wanted to chase him on. Okay. So I disassociated for a long time with that part of my family, and haven't repaired that relationship yet.
It's understandable. I mean, I have parts of my family like that too.
So for all intents and purposes, I consider myself to have a brother and a sister, although I do have another sister.
Okay. Yeah, family is the hardest thing.
No, they're the 2 I grew up with.
So, did you grow up seeing National Guard soldiers walking around in uniform, like?
A little bit. They were in the school a lot, trying to recruit, and so was the Army. The Navy was there. The Marines were there. They all came in, and you did your ASVAB test. I'm sure you did one in high school too. Mm-hmm. They're out there trying to hit their quota. They're 2 to 3 guys a month, and whatever other special standards and incentives that the Army puts on them. Yeah. So I got some exposure that way. As I've mentioned previously, my friends on the swim team and cross country team wanted to be Navy SEALs, and I got to hear some of the stories as they went through the selection process. And
so they wanted to be SEALs before 9/11 or after?
This was pre 9/11.
Okay.
So I graduated in 2001. So everything that I did was to decide to join the military was right before the first plane crash later that October.
So what references?
November. I'm sorry.
Like what were the?
September. I'm brain damage sucks.
So what was the advertising that you remembered? What was the marketing like for the military to get you going?
Well, the
marketing is very different after 9/11.
Right, and there were some goodies in there if you wanted to go try to be a super soldier. And I looked at them a little bit, but that really wasn't what I was in it for. I wanted to see if I could. And my dad finally, sat me down and talked to me, and my dad gives really good advice 99% of the time, and the other 1% it's hit and miss.
What? That 99%. The time is excellent, right?
Right. So don't take what I'm saying out of context. I'm not bad mouthing my dad in any way, but I think he gave me some bad advice in this particular instance. In retrospect, he sat me down and he talked to me about whether or not I wanted to be a full-time soldier. And if I wanted to be a full-time soldier and I didn't make the selection process, what was that going to be like for me mentally? How was I going to accept? Was I going to be able to accept that failure? And then be stuck in a job that I don't want, not as a Navy SEAL, under the thumb of the Army or the Navy or whatever dumb branch I decided to join, and stuck there rotting for 4 years. Did I really want that, or did I want to be more diverse than that? And ultimately, I decided to be more diverse. I decided that I wanted to pursue athletics. I wanted to pursue music. I wanted to pursue the military so I could serve in a part-time fashion as a National Guard soldier. And if I wanted to go active duty later, I could. Later on, I decided not to and stay with the National Guard for the majority of or for all of my career. Other than my deployments, obviously, I had some Title X time. But it served me well because it allowed me to develop in other ways outside of the military as well.
Okay, so that was 2010 or 2001, 9/11. Did you enlist right after you got out of high school?
No, I actually enlisted before I got out of high school. I turned 18 the December prior. My parents wouldn't sign a waiver.
Okay, so you joined 2000.
No, I joined in 2001, in April of 2001. I believe it was April 14th, but I'm not 100% sure on that date.
Okay.
It was either 14th or 17th.
Okay, so so you joined before 9/11.
Right.
And then
went to basic training as soon as I graduated. I literally, got done with the graduation's pomp and circumstance, and 3 days later I was on a bus on a flight to Fort Leonard Wood.
What company?
Charlie 35th.
Charlie. Okay.
That was my first company, and I was a split op. So I did my basic training my first summer. I went to college that following year, and then I did my AIT the subsequent summer.
Okay, I was Foxtrot 35th.
Okay, so then I was at Delta 35th on my second rotation through.
At Delta, we were the Foxtrot Falcons. But so I think my company, we were the last to actually go through that training area, because
that training area was there when my grandpa went through.
So
in Korea.
So this is, everyone has old basic training, but this is, I think this is kind of a neat story. So Foxtrot 35th, and then this was 2004, graduated, deployed 05, came back in 06, and then we demobbed in Fort Leonard Wood, and I just randomly went walking around base. I didn't have a map. I didn't know where my training area was. I just went for a stroll around the base, and I ended up walking right through the old, because I started recognizing things like, oh, this looks familiar. This looks a little familiar, and it was all overgrown. It was completely not being used.
Wow!
But I got to see it. I'm like, this looks like a ghost town. And I looked at the new barracks the new training facilities.
Yeah.
And it looks like, it's like a starship training. It's
like something out of
unrecognizable compared to what we went through.
Right.
Yeah. So
we had a guy
San Juan Hill
try to toss I think it was a floor buffer out a window with a cord around his neck because he couldn't take the stress. But the floor buffer hit before the cord pulled.
Yeah.
But it gives you an idea of what kind of conditions some of us went through, even in basic training.
Yeah, no, we had guys that, it was the black boots, it was the BDUs.
Yeah, we were spit shining every night once we learned how.
Yeah, that was, okay, so why combat engineer? Why 12 Bravo?
Well, I like to blow stuff up. They offered me, I think it was an $8,000 signing bonus for my first enlistment. And as a high school graduate with no future and no plans, or maybe some plans, that sounded pretty good. Right. So I'm figuring, okay, I can pay for college. I can get some GI Bill money. They're offering a $200 kicker on top of the GI Bill. Plus they're going to give me tuition assistance and tuition reimbursement. And I'm getting scholarships from my school. I'm getting paid to go to school.
Yeah. True.
So I did.
Hey, here's Nick.
Coffee, boys.
Thank you.
Hey, thank you, sir. Oh, we should take a moment to talk to our sponsor. We are filming at the Warriors Garden in St. Paul, And our founder, the founder of Warriors Garden was Nick Ron, the one you saw. And it's hemp and wellness. And he's soon to have cannabis. So he got approved for his cannabis license. So Nick was my number one, episode 1 and episode 1 part 2.
Very cool.
So Air Force veteran. So okay. So tell me about 9/11. Where were you at? How did that change your National Guard time?
Okay, well, so 9/11, I can remember it like it was yesterday still. I had fallen asleep with Fox News on. I was in my dorm room on the 10th, the night of the 10th. Maybe I'd had too much to drink that night. I don't remember. I don't think I'd really started drinking a whole lot at that age yet, though. I woke up, and I think I woke up just in time to watch the first plane hit the tower.
Okay.
The second plane hadn't impacted yet, and it was just on repeat, and it froze me.
Okay, so I have to ask this. Did you know about the trade towers at all in New York before they were hit? As an 18-year-old, did you have any idea they even existed?
I knew that they were, but I didn't really know how much commerce and how much money there is in that building.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
I had no idea.
The significance of the building as a landmark, I relatively understood, but as an economic and a world hub for financial transactions, I had no idea that it was that as well.
Right. So when I got the news, well, I was a sophomore in high school. It was like, the what got hit?
Right.
I mean, it had relatively no meaning, because I mean, if they said the pyramids blew up, it'd be like, the pyramids. I mean, I was way more aware as a kid of what the pyramids are, right, versus the trade towers. Being in North Dakota, like, what does that have to do with me? But okay, so you understood.
I woke up late for a piano lesson that day.
Okay.
And probably angered my professor by not showing up. But
okay.
Eventually classes were canceled for the day, and you know, we had a memorial and a service on campus as well.
So what unit did you were you with?
So my first unit was I don't remember the nomenclature for the company because it changed, the organization changed a few times, but it was the headquarters company of the 682nd Engineers.
Okay.
I believe it was an HHC at that time, but again, the numbers or the letters in front of it switched a few times throughout my career, and I don't recall specifically what they were named back then, other than they were the headquarters for the 682nd. That was in the Wilmer unit. One of my first platoon sergeants, although I don't think he was the first, was Douglas Wortham, who eventually became the state sergeant major.
Yeah.
Or the state enlisted advisor, senior enlisted advisor.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I got a photo with him.
Yeah, and great guy. Learned a lot from him. He had to be a tough teacher on me sometimes because I was hard-headed and mouthy and undisciplined, and he let me know about it sometimes. But he was fair with it too, you know.
So did you guys what was the next drill, your drill weekend?
Well, there was rumors about a European security mission that came up, but I don't really remember specifically what happened on my next drill or how the culture or the climate at drill changed immediately from that. But I do remember there being a significant change in the type of training that we received. When I got in the National Guard, we were bringing foot lockers full of Playboys and other nonsense and alcohol out to the training fields in Camp Ripley. There's still bottle caps out in the woods from us going out there and drinking. And it wasn't right, but it was peacetime. You know, we were training for a Cold War fight, not for terrorism, because that was the existing doctrine.
Right.
And then when 9/11 hit, all of a sudden things did start to change. I was still not a formal part of my company yet, as having completed basic training, but not being MOS queued or MOS qualified. I didn't have my title as an engineer yet.
Right.
So I had to do more pre-AIT kind of segregated training from the rest of my unit. Although I was part of the ops team, I was still learning how to be an engineer yet. So I wasn't really brought into the plans. A little bit, yeah. A little bit. But that was okay.
And you weren't 21 yet. So
right. But I was still drinking with the boys, though.
Okay.
I had 19. I was drinking with my lieutenant colonel. Although I don't know if he realized I was still that age.
Okay. Getting in here. I trained in Camp Grafton right away when I joined. So with the National Guard, the moment you sign your dotted line, that's your enlistment. Mm-hmm. And so I was given a uniform, given boots. So I looked like the guys, like everyone else, but I had no training. So I was just stupid tasks. Mm-hmm. They tried to keep us busy. I mean, oh gosh, those poor guys that had to babysit us. They had to babysit these soldiers that weren't. We were qualified nothings. That would suck.
Well,
now you get to take care of. Well, I get to take care of the kids, the ones who, the new enlistees.
You get to teach them how to sweep the floor right.
Oh God. I remember. Okay, we did clean the pistols, the Berettas, one day. Mm. So we were in a classroom in Camp Grafton, and we took the upper receiver off, or the upper off, and you got the bolt, and you got the spring and the buffer, spring buffer, and there's that tiny little lip that sits on there, and if you move that, it'll shoot the buffer. The spring will launch that little pin.
Yep. And if you do it wrong, it'll go through a wall.
Right, and they're like, all right, be careful. All of a sudden, ching, ching. I'm like, uh-oh. And so I put everything down. I'm like, I had to go look for the piece that I barely saw before it shot out of me.
It's the first time you've ever taken the thing apart. Right. You're like, what the hell did that look like?
So that was my first experience with Beretta. So we just did goofy random things to get our $130 for drill pay.
Yep.
So were you more excited about being a soldier to fight this new terrorism threat, or are you more excited about being a college kid and going for athletics?
Well, I tried to find a balancing act, honestly, because in college I was a runner. I didn't make Dakota Wesleyan, where I went to school, out in Mitchell, South Dakota, didn't have a swim team, but they were one of the only colleges that let me participate in both their music program and their athletics program. And since they were an NAIA D2 school, I could get an athletic scholarship there, whereas I wouldn't have qualified in a D1 school. So all year long, I'm training for the military as a runner through cross country, running 8Ks now at the collegiate level.
What was your 2 mile time?
I'm sorry?
What was your 2 mile time?
My 2 mile time? Well, in college, we don't run a 2 mile, we run a 3K. So my best actual 2 mile was probably a 10:23. And then I believe...
Wait. 10:23?
10 minutes and 23 seconds, correct.
For 2 miles?
That was in high school. And then in college...
That was an athletic time?
That was on a track.
Okay.
And then in college, on the 3K, which usually from 3K to a 2 mile, we use a standard 40-second conversion. I ran a 9:29 3K, which converts to a 10:09. Wow. Even though I was going a faster pace than that, it's expected that I would have slowed down in those last 200 meters. And so
you're fast.
I was fast. I was faster than most soldiers, but I wasn't elite enough to play at any higher level stage than what I was at in college, and I'm okay with that.
So hope it's not annoying that I referenced basic, but there's a guy that he was drill sergeant Shade Monday. He ended up retiring as the command sergeant major Shade Monday, and he was the top guy for the recruiting, Army recruiting. And he was my drill sergeant. He was staff sergeant drill Monday, Shade Monday. The guy said that his 2 mile time was 8 minutes 40 seconds.
Wow. My best single mile, and I probably ran it 7 or 8 times throughout my career, both in high school and in college, but I could never break it. It's been my Achilles heel. It was a 440 on a mile.
Okay.
So he was in order to run, what did you say, an
840.
840, he'd have had to run a 420 back to back. That's crazy to me.
Well, he was fast. He was there was our last qualifying PT test, because I was what you mentioned earlier about what happens if you fail. Like, that was my biggest fear. Like, there at no point was I overconfident about any of my circumstances. I was constantly, right? Like, it was, I was in fear of every day that I was going to fail. And we were doing our last test. I'm exhausted, and he's running up and down the 2-mile track, and he comes up to me, talks to me. He's like, "If you don't pick it up, you're gonna miss your time." And then he just keeps, just like, take,
Yeah.
And that, usually he's yelling at me. Usually all your drill sergeants are screaming at you, yelling, and when they talk normal,
they're sending a message.
That's some creepy stuff.
Right.
You're like,
you better pay attention, because
like,
you're special.
Right. And so so I picked up the pace, and I barely made the standard, but I made the standard. But yeah, and then we had a guy named Rodriguez. He was Puerto Rican. Yeah, Jerusalem. Like, that's my best impression. But he would constantly run past Drill Sergeant Monday. He was for the A group.
Yep.
And so I don't know if this is a thing anymore with Army Basic anymore, but
I remember
you had A group and B group.
I was just going to say, I remember the A, B, and C
and
groups.
then you have the rest.
Yes.
Right? And I could be in B group. I was part of I was a running road guard, running headlight. And for those who don't know, you get these goofy flashlights, or at least we did. We had these goofy flashlights. They're vertical, and they have the 90-degree neck, so you can clip them on, and the beam will shine forward. And those were the cheapest plastic flashlights I have ever seen in my life. I mean, I swear they look like dollar store plastic. But
if you drop
they
one,
had a look to them that were totally, it was like, oh, this is the look. Like, this is the flashlight you see in all the movies. And so it was cool to have it. But when you realized what it was like, this is cheap. Is this military grade?
We had these little wands that the road guards had to use. Oh. So it was the same kind, but
cones?
it didn't. Yeah, they were a straight flashlight with a tapered cone on it, and some of them had kind of an orange or a red hue to them. And so then you had to stand out there with your goofy little road guard vest and your PT belt, because you have to be safe, right? And with your you stand out there with your sign, and you're out there with your cone, and it's all lit up, and and you wait for the whole company to go by, and then you run all the way back around to the front.
So there was A group in the beginning, because we all assembled in the morning, 4:30, and that was our PT time. And A group, everybody wanted to be an A group. Not me. I didn't. No, not for a minute did I ever want to be an A group. But over the course of 2 weeks, A group became half of what it was. Now half of that group is in B group, and it's getting smaller. Well, one morning, Drill Sergeant Monday looks over to Drill Sergeant Noah. It's like, "Hey, Battle, why don't we switch? Let me lead." And I'm dreading this. This is the worst day of my life. I mean, my shins. I have shin splints. I'm taking ibuprofen every morning. The moment I wake up, just to handle the run.
Ranger candy.
Oh God! It was torture and pain every morning we ran, and then Drill Sergeant Monday led A group that morning, and it's not a run, it's a race. And so one by one, B group people are falling out. And there's me and like it's Drill Sergeant Monday, me, and like 4 other people, and we're
booking.
We're cruising. And it's probably a light jog for him, but we're running.
Right.
And then finally, I couldn't do it. I swear, because him and I were the only 2 natives. There was no other natives in all of the Foxtrot company. And maybe I was his special pet project. He hasn't really told me that directly, but it would seem to be the case. And as soon as I fell out, he stopped the group and waited for everyone to reassemble. He wanted to run me until I quit, and he did.
They tried to do that to me a couple of times.
And I was like, really? You wanted to you
I was an A group runner.
You're A group.
And there was one drill sergeant who could keep up with me. And I remember there was probably a 4 to 5 mile run he took us on one morning, way out in the woods. Taught us a bunch of cadences we weren't supposed to learn because you can't really talk dirty in the Army anymore. But it was fun, right? But on the way back, we had the same kind of thing, and it was a race. And there was me and maybe 1 or 2 other privates that could really book. And I think it was probably our senior drill sergeant who was out there just getting it, but I don't remember which one it was. And he wanted to see if we could go, and we did. And we went, and we went, and we went, and we sang, and we sang, and we sang, and at the end of that run, it was like, okay, let's wait for everybody else.
Yeah, so running was not my forte. I ran a few weeks before basic training back home on the reservation. I was not an athlete by any accounts. Even the editor of their newspaper, who did our senior year kind of a little expose or whatever, he said, although Mr. Yankton is not an athlete, he does enjoy bowling. So I was known for bowling and band. I was a band geek, and so basic training was very difficult for me. But so what was your highest PT test? Your score? Did you get 300
on the extended scale or on the regular scale?
Oh, 300. Did you get 300?
I don't remember how many times I've
You got the PT
I've got
patch?
the patch, yeah. I hit it.
All right, so you're a PT stud. Got it.
Well,
Congratulations.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Yeah, I had the patch. I chose to wear it sometimes when I had troubles with push-ups. I was skinny. I graduated at 155 pounds. I was 6 feet tall, and just I felt like I was a runt of the litter. I didn't have that chest development that I wanted to, and I didn't know how to get it. And the Army helped show me some ways to do it, and eventually I developed a process to kind of sculpt the look I want. But it took me a long time to get there. And early in my career, that was always my problem. I could bang out sit-ups like they were nothing. I could run like the wind, but the push-ups, I couldn't ever quite get there. I finally maxed it by the end of basic training. Maxed it a few more times when the standards were a little easier back home. And I think I redid it again back in AIT the next summer. And that kind of set the stage for a lot of the rest of my career.
Nice.
I was a candidate for, what is that final inspection that you do in basic training? Do you remember what that's called? Where you go in front of the battalion commander or the company commander, and all the platoons kind of send one representative, and then he inspects your weapons, he does D&C with you until there's only one left.
Wasn't me.
Okay, that was me. I took second in that competition. Had I taken first, I'd have probably gotten an AAM or a coin, and probably would have been the Distinguished Honor Grad for my basic training class. But I fell short. I had an integrity violation that was over my head. I stole some Oreos from the chow hall and snuck them back to the barracks, and I shared them with one of my buddies who decided to be a Blue Falcon. And one day the drill sergeants had a come to Jesus meeting with us and said, well, boys, some of you have been hiding some stuff, and some of you other friends have been telling on you, so let's see who has the integrity to come forward and tell their secrets.
Did you ever get a little card that had the Army Corps values written on it?
Oh, I had several, and I had a dog tag.
Did they make you turn it in?
Nope.
Okay, so we had a guy.
But they took my platoon guy, not platoon guy, but my squad leader stripe. When I confessed to stealing the Oreos.
Well, it's for everyone listening. It's just Oreos, like, oh, big deal.
Right.
But it represents a larger. It's if you can't get a soldier to say no to Oreos in peacetime, what other temptations can you keep the soldier from acting on in wartime?
Right.
It represents a larger thing, right?
But they also gave me an opportunity to atone for my sins,
Yeah.
or to repent. And I took that opportunity, I used it, and I took my punishment in stride.
Right.
Knowing that yeah, I did the wrong thing, but I also confessed to it and repented for it and asked for forgiveness from my platoon, and they gave it to me. So,
So you do something like that, you just can't get caught. Because, for example,
well, there's lots of things I didn't get caught for that I should have, and
Okay,
we don't necessarily need to share all those.
Okay,
but
well, basic. The one that I could have probably gotten in trouble for was there was these vending machines that had ice cream, and I was able to lead the guys to church on Sunday. I was a big church guy, and I knew that the drill sergeants were following me for a while. You turn certain corners and you can see them. They're not inconspicuous.
Right.
And so finally, I just took the risk. Had some extra cash in my pocket. Went and got a candy out of the candy bar thing, and no one knew. Yeah, so I probably would have had my card snapped in half. Because we actually saw that they had to surrender the card. I got it in my pocket right now. Carry it with me. And it's and the drill sergeants demanded that he surrender that, and then they cut it in half. And they call it integrity violation. And I saw that. I was like, I that's embarrassing. Like that was, they made it a big moment. Like it was, they probably way overdid the whole.
Oh
moment.
yeah, it was all pomp and circumstance,
right,
but it was to send a message.
Right,
hey, this soldier lost his values.
Right. I was like, no.
Right. You don't want to be on that display stand, right?
So it's kind of, yeah. I mean, I still remember that moment. So that's good. Right?
I remember the first day going to Charlie Company, the shark attack. You know, everybody talks about the shark attack. Head in your bag.
Cobras.
And yeah, we were the Cobras, Charlie Cobras. And you know they're out there, and it's all just show. You know, they're just basically actors.
Well, no, it's
but
stress.
They're inducing stress in these soldiers, and they're good at it. You know, they've got experience, they've got practice, they know how to instill fear into a young soldier's mind, and that's good because then they can mold you through that fear and through that experience into the type of lethal machine that they want you to be.
Right. Okay, so basic training check. Okay, AIT. Any good AIT stories?
Well, I've got lots still from both basic and AIT, but AIT, I was in Delta. Like I said, I was a split op. A fun story from Reception Battalion. I get back to reception in Fort Leonard Wood, and they're looking for somebody who knows how to make a bunk. My mom had taught me hospital corners when I was a kid, so I kind of knew how to do it. And then obviously I'd been through basic already, and you know, was selected for having, you know, a neat and tidy appearance to be in front of the commander. So I knew how to make a bunk. And literally after I got done just with the setup display before I even taught the class, the one of the reception battalion instructors came out and said that was the tightest bunk he'd ever seen. And I knew that at that point, then I'd gotten somebody's attention. So they allowed me to instruct a class on how to make your bunk properly for probably several hundred soldiers. And, you know, I was just an E3 at the time. I'd gotten in as under the Stripes for Buddies program. And so I started as an E2, had made E3 after basic, but hadn't made the requirements for specialist yet. But yeah, that felt cool to be chosen as a leader at that point when everybody's lining up with sore butts and shots to be asked to lead a class on something like that, right? So we get out through basic. We start learning about demo. We start blowing some stuff up, and that's all cool. And you know, you're learning about landmines and anti-handling devices and all the dumb stuff that the enemy can do to make me blow myself up.
Old, outdated tactics.
Yeah, but still very, very effective.
Right.
Got to learn about bridging. We had a private who decided he wanted to fly, And so on bridge day, he stood up on the abridged abutment and decided to swan dive with no hands, head first onto the concrete, and busted his melon up pretty good. Spent some time in the TMC, the treatment facility, and then eventually came back with us with a big bandage on his head, and they called him Q-tip. I'm not sure if they recycled him eventually or
They didn't send him home?
Not right away. No, I think he spent some time in reception or as a holdover for a recycle for a while. They might have sent him home eventually. I don't know.
So
they made fun of him for it.
Yeah, there's a guy I graduated high school with. I don't know if he wants his name mentioned. I'll withhold it for the moment. So I went to the TMC to get my ibuprofen because the shin splints were just eating me alive. And get in there and I see my friend. Like, this is the friend that taught me how to play Halo. Like, he was the only one that had an Xbox high school, so we played Halo a bunch. And I was like, "What are you doing here?" And he's like, "Well," I'm like, I didn't even know he was going out for the Army full time. And he's like, "Army's not for me." I'm like, "What? What do you mean?" Like, he's like, "I'm not doing it anymore." Like, you're not getting out, are you? He's like, "They can't make me stay." Okay. And so I sat there with my friend from high school while he was and now he lives in Australia. But yeah, I saw my buddy and he was just like, "No, it's not for me." And so I was like, I guess, yeah, there's a bunch of us that I didn't really question a whole lot. I did what I was told and I stayed within those limits, and I just wanted to be a good soldier. Yeah. And so, but to those who did question everything and be like, "No, you can't make me do this." Okay, and that's true. Yeah, they can't really make you. But yeah, if there's a soldier that doesn't want to be there, I don't want him to be there either. So, commit suicide. You tried to kill yourself off a bridge. That'd be tough.
Yeah.
Like
I don't. Like,
how would you take that if you were an instructor and you saw one of your enlistees?
I'd talk to him after the fact, and he was heavily medicated, probably on some muscle relaxers for obvious reasons. He had to decompress his spine, but he was a different person afterwards, for sure. As an instructor, to watch one of my soldiers go through that, because later on in my career, that was a role I took on. I did have one soldier, and he was Native, who passed away from suicide, and that was a really hard thing for me to deal with, because he had so much talent and so much to offer, and I tried to push him to be a better soldier and to bring him out of some of the negative circumstances that he was in, and I wasn't skilled enough at the time to be able to effectively help him with that, and that hurt. I had my own demons that I was dealing with at the time. I'd been deployed a couple of times. I was an alcoholic.
You were living up to the engineer song?
We can drink from 100-gallon cans, yes, or 50-gallon cans.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yes, we can. So, well, sorry to hear about that soldier.
Yeah. I'll keep his name off the record, but I believe his family probably knows who I'm talking about, and maybe you probably know him as well. So, you mentioned a couple deployments. Let's move into there. Sure. There's some interesting things actually that happened before my deployments. Let's talk about a little bit of the the build up to wartime. Okay. For me. Okay. So post AIT, I was hitting my marks PT wise. I was a good shot. I shot expert in AIT, I think. Although throughout basic, I couldn't hit the broadside of a barn. I didn't learn how to shoot from my father, although I'm sure my father's an excellent shot, and I know my grandfather was. They never gave me that skill, but basic training did, and I didn't know how to shoot. I didn't know how to line up the reticles. We didn't have fancy optics in 2001, 2002.
Or
It was
2004.
all iron sights, right? And it wasn't even the fancy ones where you could adjust elevation. It was just the hard-mounted kind. It was the old M16 M1s or M2 or A1s or A2s. But it finally, on the last day of qualification, I managed to sync up 36 out of 40. Or 30. That's your basic expert standard, right? 36. And everybody in the whole platoon was like, "What?" because they saw me on the range and I was terrible. So I'd hit marks on marksmanship. I'd hit marks on a lot of the things that they pay attention to. And I brought some of those skills back with me, and I started to learn about some of the basic troop leading procedures and how to be a Joe. We did some recon stuff. Even though we were a headquarters company, we took some time to do some engineer stuff too, some cool guy stuff. We still went to the demo range every year, and so I joined in 2001. Went to AIT, graduated AIT fall of 2002. So the next summer, that should have been my first AIT, but I had been selected for a Sapper candidate school or class.
Sapper slot.
Well, I didn't have a Sapper slot yet, but I was a candidate for a Sapper slot.
Okay.
And I was an E4 by that time, so that would have been. It took me. I was mad because I couldn't get a waiver for 4. So I think the minimum requirement was 2.5 years in for 4, or maybe 3. Whatever it was, that was my goal, and I didn't get it right away because I was mouthy and arrogant. But I did get selected for a Sapper candidate slot. So I spent some time out of ops, training to go to Sapper school to find out, does this soldier as an E4, and to my knowledge, I was the first junior enlisted soldier who eventually was selected for Sapper school. And as far as I know, the only junior enlisted soldier to have ever been selected from the state of Minnesota as a National Guard soldier to be selected for Sapper school for state funding. There's been lots of officers that have gone. I'm sure they've sent some NCOs, and obviously there's been some prior enlistment Sappers.
I think so. With North Dakota, I was with 817th Sapper Company, which it's just the name of the unit. Mm-hmm. None of us were Sapper qualified. And there's a guy went to basic training, or went to Iraq with Shepherd PT stud, and the command came down and they just sort of casually mentioned, "Hey, you might be getting some Sapper slots. Like this is your standard to make the cut to possibly get qualified." And it's when you're that young and you're that eager to do something, you don't listen to the words quite well enough. This is the standard that you'll need to might get hopefully someday if we get money. It's just this. Yeah. But if
But they're dangling the carrot out there to get you to see if you'll try for it.
Oh shoot, yeah. Apart from the fitness regimen I adopted when I got back in the National Guard and joined the Red Bull, that was probably the most fit I've ever been, because I wanted to go to Sapper school. I knew I had to be PT stud to even get on the list.
Right.
And so it was, we went at it hard, and we were excited, we were eager, and then it just never happened.
Okay.
But
you went through the tables, right? The combat swim and the.
We didn't do the swim, but I elevated everything I could on my own, and then we were waiting for the ranger tables, or not the ranger tables, the engineer table. Yeah, the engineer skills, and none of that stuff.
Yeah, we spent time with
just like that. I'm sure those who said it meant it, but who told them that it was a real thing? And so it's obviously it's a higher up kind of problem, but I think it's a very shiny lure for young soldiers.
Oh, yeah.
Like,
well, you don't.
Hey, who wants to go to Ranger School? I want to do it. Like, all right, show me your. All right, Pete, I need 20 PT studs, to make the list. Well, just mentioning Ranger, any of these elite schools, is going to boost your fitness level within your ranks, right? Because there are motivated soldiers that want to do these things.
Right.
And I don't think it's used as a bait and switch like that, but I think it has been in the past.
I think commanders use the tools that they have available to motivate their soldiers, whether or not.
Sorry, we lost funding. Like, what are you going to tell them? Oh, you can't send these guys to Sapper School. Well, they don't know that.
Right. And those are conversations that are had behind closed doors, and that's fine. You know, they're doing what it takes to make the most effective fighting force with the tools that they have available. And you know what? If as a commander they show that they can motivate their soldiers, in a lot of cases, their higher ups then allocate the funding for it. Right. So it's a chicken or the egg problem in a lot of cases. They may do it with the intent of motivating their soldiers, but they're also motivating their commanders to give them the money to do it.
Yeah, because as at team level, I did not have the awareness of I'm just one soldier of 20 different units within the state. You know that. Okay. Like, what's so special about me to get funded to go to this special school? Mm-hmm. I didn't have that awareness, you know.
Yeah, and I didn't really I knew that tab schools were rare. Mm-hmm. I didn't realize how rare, right. Especially at that level in my career. And so we did our 1-year train up. We went through some pretty exhausting, you know, National Guard level training. And it went through exactly what the Sapper handbook had. We did knots, we did mountaineering. Well, we didn't really do a lot of mountaineering, but we did all the road marches and all the basic stuff that you need to do when you get there in GS phase and you know, have to do it for points for a record later.
So we know there's a mutual friend or an acquaintance of ours we talked about. Mm-hmm. Then his unit sent him to Ranger School pre-Ranger, and he wasn't able to pass pre-Ranger because of a land navigation error. Mm-hmm. And then he got sent back. But which is, it's a standard. It doesn't matter if you missed it or whatever. These other people didn't miss it, right. But you did. So, all right, see you later.
Yeah.
And
I know that feeling well.
So tell me about that.
Well, we'll start with Sapper School. Yep. So it was the summer of 2006. I finally shipped. It was either June or July. I don't remember. Whatever the hottest month is that the regular Army doesn't want to send their soldiers, that's when they send the National Guard. True story. There was I think probably 7 or 8 of us that from the battalion that met for a year and tried to qualify to go. There were 3 of us that qualified, and there were 2 of us that shipped due to an injury. One of them ended up being my company commander later overseas. The other one also ended up being on staff above me. Both were officers, and then there was me. So myself and my friend Sapper Shand, we both shipped, went down there, fought through GS phase, made points, and did, you know, some pretty amazing things, honestly. You know, and you know, for our viewers, I hope they take the time to go and see what Sapper School is, because it is literally MacGyver school for soldiers. They teach you foreign weapons, U.S. weapons, mountaineering, boatman stuff. Basically, they took all of the tab schools and the engineer school, made their own school out of all of them, and condensed it down to 28 days of hell. The analogy was always given that Ranger School is this long and it sucks this much, and Sapper School is this long and it sucks this much. And I really believe that that's true.
Well, there are stories where people have passed Ranger School in a single go, mm-hmm. and they failed out Sapper School.
Yep.
And for those who don't know, Ranger School is a leadership school. Mm-hmm. It's you don't get to go home on the weekends like Navy SEALs. I found that out. I learned that. That's kind of a fun fact.
I didn't know that the SEALs got that privilege.
Oh yeah, they don't train on the weekends. No, they can go home to their family and get a hot bath, mm-hmm. you know, fresh food, and they have to return.
Wow.
Yeah, SEAL training is not straight through.
Okay.
to anybody who's even tried those things, hats off to them. But okay, so Sapper school. When'd you go? What year?
So it was 2006 when I went. Yep. It was in the summer, probably in June or July, whenever it was the hottest or the worst time to go. That's when we went.
So, dude, that was middle of the war. That was intense war fighting in Iraq at the time.
Right. So back at home station, there were murmurings of a European security mission. Basically, our job was to go and fill in for the active army, guarding sites in Europe. And I was trying to get on that deployment because I wanted to go see Europe for free. I was young, I didn't have a family, and thought it was, a good opportunity. I didn't end up going on that trip, but that was in the back of my mind still. The Iraq War had kicked off by then. We'd seen the shock and awe on CNN and Wolf Blitzer's great coverage, and at least that's what I thought of it at that time anyway. And we'd gotten into steady state type stuff, but we'd kind of stalled a little bit. We'd inflicted our will on Iraq, but we hadn't really closed up anything. We hadn't accomplished anything other than removing Saddam and making him hide in a hole. Basically. And so I was in Sapper school, and I went through GS, I made my points. I wasn't the top of the class, but I wasn't at the bottom of the class either, and I was an E4. I didn't have a lot of leadership experience yet at that time, but Sapper school is truly a leadership school. It gives you opportunities to lead and pushes everybody there to take on that role, whether you want to or not. Under my first time in patrolling phase, so that's the second 2 weeks of Sapper school. Okay. You're in sleep deprivation training, you're in food deprivation training. They let you eat like a fat cat for the first 2 weeks, and then they starve you and let you work it all off in the next 2. You're eating a part of an MRE a day and probably 2 gallons of water plus salt packets to try to keep you hydrated and keep you from dying. Yeah. You're bathing.
Where's Sapper school located?
Sapper school is in the nice flat areas of the Ozark Mountains in Fort Leonard Wood, Missouri. It's part of one of the national forests down there, but I don't know how they're connected or the names. But it's hilly. It's rigorous. I'm told that it's the second hardest land navigation course in the Army, second to the STAR course, which is the Special Forces course. Yep. And it got me. I didn't pass my land navigation course. I'm told that the second time through it's easier. I wasn't afforded that opportunity because of a story that I'm about to tell you. During my first leadership evaluation, they took one of the E4s and made him our PL, our platoon leader, and I was the second in command, and they set us up for failure hard. They pushed us into a village where we got to go and we were in an overpowering enemy, and we didn't have the forces to accomplish our mission, and so their goal was to try to get us to fall back and reorganize and call in for reinforcements. And we didn't do that, and so we went in there and got all shot up and died. And I tried to coax the other specialists into what I thought was some of better options, but he was the PL and I wasn't. And I wasn't effective and didn't really know the role of a platoon sergeant yet at that time in my career. And I couldn't aid him enough to make him successful, and we failed miserably. But there's a 50% standard. So I got another opportunity. I knew I had one left to go in my back pocket. So we're going through there on some adventures. We're giving some other soldiers some opportunities to be PLs and platoon sergeants. And no, I was a squad leader on that one. But I failed miserably. And we were supposed to. It was one of the first 2 missions. So they wanted to make an example of, okay, this is how you come out all jerked up and fix yourself. Yeah. They wanted to teach that lesson early, and that's okay. So I got my second time up in leadership. I was the platoon sergeant this time, so it was a step up in leadership. I was on, I believe it was the second longest op order that we had to prepare. It was a deliberate op order. I think it was the 8-hour version. My tasks included setting up and completing test fires for our platoon, planning the supply and support services portion of our operation, figuring out what equipment we needed and what logistical support we needed, both from within our company and what outside resources were available for it. I had to supervise and construct a sand table and terrain model kit, and then brief portions of the op order to our platoon, so that way we could then go and execute our mission. And I hit my marks every step of the way. My sand table looked phenomenal, and I had great support from the other sappers in my platoon. They all stepped up and performed exactly how they should have. I had kind of butt heads with one of the other sappers in my platoon a couple of times, and I didn't trust him, and that shame on me for that. I'd already requested for one time extension on my S4 coordination. S4 coordination, for our viewers that don't know that's the little piece of paper that you go and you request all your supplies from your logistical support.
Right.
And so you detail out all the weapons you need, all the ammo you need, all the food, all the beans and bullets that you need to accomplish your mission, any transports, any mountaineering equipment, whatever it is that you're set to do, it's got to be on that piece of paper if you want it. And I had all my stuff on there that we needed. Everything that we needed for our equipment was there. Everything that we didn't need was removed. But I didn't have time to separate everything out by class. And I didn't want to ask for another extension because I'd already asked for one.
Right.
One of my other sappers who was trying to help me, and I didn't follow his lead, and I should have, said, Nate, or Sapper Larsen, go ask for another extension, get your paperwork straightened out. And my pride got in the way, and I said, no, I just need to get this in, or I'm going to fail. And because I got it in incorrectly and didn't reference the manual to say that everything had to be sorted out by class, that was my minor no-go that turned into my major no-go that failed me for that exercise, or for that leadership evaluation. So it was a paperwork exercise why I couldn't wear my Sapper tab for my career. And it was my pride that got in the way of me being able to accomplish that task. I still consider myself a sapper. I didn't go through the second level, or the second try on the land nav course. Everybody, I believe, that was afforded the opportunity to did pass. I did get level 1 combative certified while I was down there, and that served me well as well. That's basically the Army's version of mixed martial arts. Yep. You're familiar with it. So is Nick. But, for me, that was my introduction to MMA. So I got to bring those skills back with me as a soldier.
So when did you, so was there a graduation date?
There was a graduation date. I got to sit and watch my fellow sappers. Sapper Shand did receive his tab. I got to a certificate of completion and a pat on the back saying, thanks for coming. Had I been a regular Army soldier, they would have afforded me a recycle, but the Minnesota state didn't have the funding for it, and so I was sent home without one.
So yeah, the military is kind of funny like that, isn't it? It's There's technicalities which are a big deal on certain things, like, for example, bomb making. Technically, like certain wires need to be connected, because if you mess up, you fail and everyone dies. And then there's other things when it comes to paperwork. It's like, no, you didn't complete someone else's standard and you failed, and they're not going to give you the thing. So that's a shame that you were able to complete the training, missed that piece of the standard. Someone's standard could be. Do you think there could be an improvement on that piece of the evaluation for future troops?
No,
or should that stay in there?
I think that should still be the standard.
Okay.
Because it was in the Sapper handbook what the standard was. And as a leader, I should know to go and look at the standard before I turn my work in. Right. And I failed to do that.
And if you can't do that in training, peacetime, how are we going to be able to do it in combat, wartime?
Right. And if you're going to wear a Sapper or a Ranger or a Special Forces tab, you need to be that level. You need to be that detailed. You need to be that good. And I wasn't on that day. And it was a lesson that I learned the hard way, and it drove me to be better later on in my career. So this was in 2006. The following January, I was selected to go to Norway on a 2-week troop exchange. I think you're familiar with the Norwex troop exchange.
So, sorry, going back to 2006, because I was in Fort Leonard Wood for Medema. What month did you go home for graduation?
It was just a 28-day stay. So we got there. I don't even know if we stayed a night in a hotel the morning we landed. I don't remember.
You didn't stay on base?
It's just not a part that I recall.
I was wondering if we ever crossed paths, because I flew in 1st November.
Nope, I would have been gone by then.
Okay.
So the latest I would have been there would have been the end of August, because after that it cools off. And I know all 3 times that I went to Fort Leonard Wood, I was there in June, July, and August, because it was miserable.